Today is about emotional bandwidth, which is what nurtures life force, embodiment of spirit, and states of contentment. Emotional bandwidth is one's mental capacity to handle stress, process feelings, and support others at any given time. Like a battery, it drains due to stress, overstimulation due to trauma or exhaustion, or anything that's ingested through the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, even the skin. The goal is to keep it stabilized through retrained sleep patterns, health, and managed, balanced workload. Balance is subjective. I think we need to create a new balance. A draining and or giving away emotional bandwidth highly impacts communication, limiting patience and empathy. People with low emotional bandwidth struggle in group settings due to easily becoming overwhelmed and overstimulated, emotionally lashing out or projecting onto a scapegoat. Insecurity implodes in conversations due to daily rumination, causing distortion in others' motives, as well as projection of unprocessed feelings. Hence the scapegoating. If you have a distortion in other people's motives, it's because you are distorted. It's because your motives are distorted due to daily rumination. Emotional irritability causes patterns in relations of what we call walking on eggshells, which, by the way, is very easy for people to become comfortable in through adjustments to their own authenticity. When you're creating an environment of walking on eggshells, the creator of that scenario, you are the eggshells. So you're scared, basically, of being stepped on. Feeling small, insignificant. People seeing you as not good enough. These people usually socially withdraw, but avoid text messages from people, loved ones, and going on outings with loved ones. This isn't a withdrawal due to toxic behaviors in the environment. They socially withdraw from family, and when they do get around the family and they're in a group setting, they don't have the emotional bandwidth to withstand not having the attention on them. When attention has become a need for you, you need to be the star of the show. Even if that means taking down the one you see as the star, you know? The electronic usage goes up at this point. The internet is their safe haven. Until one reaches maturity through sovereignty, all emotional bandwidth is spent making money and basically on who we network with toxic friend cults, and entertainment. Entertainment. A lack of standards morally for outside spousal relations has now been embedded long enough to create the war we see between the genders. I think we need a focus on the relationships we're creating with friends and people over the internet. If we're all honest, both sexes, with their friends, throughout the growing process, objectify the opposite gender. There's an entrained into the people through gossip, through venting, through chitter chatter, through the game of telephone. In my 20s, I had a friend named Janet. We were actually friends since I was 17, up into my 20s. Till I was like, maybe 24 or something, maybe. I know we were friends at my 21st birthday and a couple years after that. But she would literally, like, tell me all about her sexual experiences and like all these guys that she was hooking up with. Like, I wasn't a type of person to like go out unless my boyfriend was there. And then even when I did go out with them, it was like a girls' night. So it wasn't like we were going to leave with other people. She used to go out with, you know, stripper friends and things like that. Janet and my friend Nikki were very similar in that way. They used to tell me like their sexual experiences, like details, and just completely like vulgar communication. But within that, it's objectification. You guys can basically consider that a form of retardation. Like, it affects the mind towards stress and age and death. There's stages, right? So, the men too, talking about the women they hook up with, making it all a sexual conquest. And the women can say that it's not. Sure, they can say and claim that it's not a sexual conquest all they want, but both ends are definitely objectified. So the story about Janet, talking about Jeremy being attractive, it was probably like 2 or 3 comments, like random, and not the same exact comment every time, but one day at dinner, she told me the story about how she had a sexual dream about Jeremy. And I then at this point, I started to, like, you know, lose my emotional bandwidth, right? Like, it's starting to like compound and overload, and thoughts are going through my mind. Insecurities are being implanted at this time. I was young, so I had insecurities of my own already, so it just added to the concoction. And, you know, Janet was very open, and, you know, she had stages where she had girlfriends, so she was sexually open. And the way she carried herself, her body, she used her body, you know, to get what she wanted. So she was just like a flirty in nature. So anytime, at this point, anytime I'd hang out with Janet, with Jeremy, I felt so insecure. Like, it was just like my emotional bandwidth had been spent on her, right? And so then one time when I was at her house, there was like an incident that I thought happened. We all know how people who are gay, they tend to like make jokes and things to be funny. When she was talking about the dream she had about Jeremy, she went into detail about his you-know-what, saying it was really big and like all this stuff. And like, I mean, even to this day, I'm like, ew, what if they hooked up? Like, what if that dream was actually her confessing to hooking up with him, right? Okay, so, but anyway, like, I wouldn't even doubt it. Like, it's just coming to me right now. I don't know why, but I wouldn't doubt it. So, I was at her house one time, and I was about to leave with Jeremy. It was, like, the end of the outing or whatever at her house, the event. It was, like, a Halloween party or something. I had been drinking, so I had to use the restroom before we left, and it was, like, at a gathering down in San Diego. And I don't know, Janet and David were really open. So, like, I don't know. I went to the bathroom and I don't know. I imagined that the bonk on the wall when I was in the bathroom was Jeremy throwing Janet up against it. And I was drinking, and Janet, I don't know if she was, I mean, I'm sure she was. Look, I don't doubt it. Trying to implant insecurity in me. Like, she had a crush on him. She really did. And back in the day, I didn't take it that way because she was so, like, tried to be funny all the time, you know? I came out of the bathroom kind of, like, just, like, grossed out and, like, mad. And I didn't say anything to anybody, and I waited until we got in the car, and then I talked to Jeremy about it. And he, like, was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Which it probably didn't happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Even with Janet's husband there. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, okay? Because I found out he cheated on me, right? Because of my gut instinct. I did a little digging and a little setup to find out, to get for sure the facts, you know. I could tell that story too. I got so many stories. But it caused a fight, and, you know, he denied it, which, who's my friend Nikki too, like, we would just talk on the phone. Like, we didn't live close to each other, so it was like a phone, like, pen pal thing. But we would just, like, I don't know, vent to each other or whatever. So, Nikki, I don't remember why we stopped being friends, but it was just personality differences and, like, me changing, but, like, we became friends again. We started talking on the phone after a little while. Sometimes that happens. You go in and out with friends or whatever. And I don't know, she ended up admitting to me that she had talked to my ex-boyfriend after we weren't friends anymore the last time. And I was like, what in the world? Right? Like, me and Nikki became friends again, and she was telling me how he contacted her because he wanted to kind of, like, vent to her. And she didn't know anything about our relationship at this time because we stopped talking. He was extremely controlling and toxic, and I was trying to get away, and like, he had moved in with me. It was just kind of like a fiasco. It's like, it's so, like, intrusive of her to, like, I don't know, indulge in this conversation with my ex-boyfriend, who she, like, I think, met once. They didn't hang out often or anything. Like, they met once, twice maybe. And so I just said, like, you don't think it's weird, like, that you're contacting or you're, like, conversating with my ex-boyfriend? He contacted her, she said. So, but it doesn't matter, you know? From what I'm remembering, we were on a phone call and, like, she started getting moody. And, because I was saying that, she ended up, like, hanging up on me, but right before she hung up on me, she said that he wanted to hook up with her. Like, just to, like, put another, like, knife in my fucking back, you know? Like, I was so mad. I was younger at this time, too. Like, I had developed, but it was just, like, so many lines crossed. And, like, for what? Because you're mad that I started having boundaries and standards for my relationships. And she didn't like it. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell people. I also think Janet used to take stabs at me in conversations, and I just wasn't aware. When I was younger. But one night, the last time I hung out with Janet, it was out one night with her boyfriend and his friends. And my friend Eric came with me. Eric, he was gay also. So, I mean, this is the environment. It's like, they're just always cracking jokes. And they'll definitely use you as the expense, you know? It's always sexual innuendos and, like, just laughed off, not taken seriously, stuff like that. So Eric said that this guy was, like, looking at me. And I wasn't paying attention to anybody in particular at all. So he started making fun of my tan, saying it looked really orange and overdone. And he said that my hands looked old. So I just, I got offended, right? And at this time I had a tanning addiction. So my tan, I mean, it could have, to a degree, it was true, right? But I found it very, like, disrespectful, right? And Janet didn't say anything. And it felt as if she just left me out to dry, you know? She, like, threw me out to the wolves, and they just kept laughing. And, like, he was so rude. Like, he kept pushing it. And I walked off, and I went into the bathroom. And Eric followed me, and so did Janet. And when we got into the bathroom, Janet, like, yelled at me. She was mad at me. She started yelling at me, and she was saying that I demanded so much of her as a friend. And I was, like, taken back. I was like, are you serious right now? You're saying this to me right now when you didn't defend me in front of your boyfriend's friend. It's kind of like her duty, like, in a sense. Like, yes, she could have stayed silent to, like, you know, empower me to set a boundary with this stranger, you know, and, like, stick up for myself. Sure, that's probably a lesson that I didn't pass, but I think it was a lesson for her too. Like, that's so disrespectful to just, like, leave me out there and let this guy totally cream me. It's like, obviously she's jealous. Obviously, like, this whole relationship is just a fucking joke to her. So, these are just one-on-one experiences. This doesn't count when, like, we would get in groups sometimes, you know, and I mean, it wasn't, like, to me, in my mind, that bad when we were in groups, but there are friend groups out there that get really cult-like, and you guys find someone to pick on, right? And you guys all take on roles from your family, the roles you had probably, or who knows, maybe you want to try a new one, you know, in your friend group. So, you do. And you get to experience all the roles. You get to be a hero, you get to be a victim, you get to be a perpetrator, a bully. So, that's Emotional bandwidth lost. Venting and drama causing behaviors, or like scapegoating. It's all you turning your life into a soap opera, into a scene in the LA Housewives, or I don't even know the names of the shows you guys watch, okay? But all the toxic behaviors that cause disorder that you guys grew up in, you're watching on TV. Yeah, so it's basically like you're reenacting everything. So that's another way our emotional bandwidth is stolen or given away. Freely, basically. The point of all your shows are the emotional ups and downs. You're addicted to ups and downs. So when your projector is running this movie, right? Meaning it's recording the scenes on the screen and it's recording, right? So then when you get in these settings that you've been watching, you're going to behave the way you've been seeing them behaved. So the group settings, right? This is why you guys don't like being in group settings. This has nothing to do with other people attacking you. This is a projection of who you are. Your inability to maintain emotional bandwidth. Literally, within the expression, it's like, if there weren't healthy examples to follow, you're going to go and find roles to follow. You're going to find the roles that work. It's programming. It's programming generational curses into your systems, is what it's doing. That is the generational curse of a lifetime, of the life here, of the human here. I don't know what generational curses you guys are worried about, but this is the, if there was one, capital THE, it would be this one. The dynamics you guys play out. The cluster B personalities. Yeah. How you guys handle your group settings. You don't. It was just codependence that was being programmed. Now it's sadism. Codependence and sadism. Along with all the other disorders that are being, like, you know, displayed on TV like it's a cool thing in town. So after all of this, and probably so much more that we're not even discussing, the emotional bandwidth is gone. It's out the door. There is none. And so when you guys go from friend groups where they're literally like picking on you to do certain things, or picking on you for being a certain way, or implanting insecurity and using you as entertainment, treating you as like a tool. The emotions of every person in the dynamic is absorbed into your body. Your body keeps the score. So if, let's just say you have a best friend, you're a guy. Let's just say you're a guy and you have a best friend and he's high up there in status, just like you are, and you guys like going out together, but somebody's got to be the star of the show, you know? And so your best friend just kind of becomes like a doormat, and he likes it that way, and you like it that way because you're used to it. And we want to have friends, you know, and we want to be seen, and we want to be known, and we want the status. And we have ingrained to do it no matter what it takes. And that includes stepping on other people's heads, including our friends. That's a loss of emotional bandwidth. emotional bandwidth has already been lost, which is why you're trying to control friend. But because you're allowing this and he's allowing it, by the time, like, this is all emotional. It's all emotional, and you're doing it because you're addicted to the emotions. The only bonding most kids have in their minds are with electronics, are through the TV, are sitting there watching movies with their parents, watching TV, watching shows with their parents. That's about the only time that I see kids bonding with their parents, or video games. Outside of that, there's no communicating. And if they are, it's through text message from the other rooms. And after putting out all that effort after all that loss, coming back to like a spouse, let's just say like me going to Jeremy, after having these friends who are implanting things into my mind, right? Implanting insecurity, and then me going back to Jeremy and taking it out on him. Whether he did it or not, it wasn't right of me, because it's just something completely made up in my mind, because a storyline was created, right? So I was finishing it. I was finishing the book that was in my mind that I wanted answers to. And even if I had to jump to conclusions and make something up, that's what I was going to do. So that's what I did. So all of this leads up to a lack of emotional bandwidth with the opposite gender. You're going to have these emotions that are going to want to come out, and they are, and they're going to come out on the person that you claim to love, who you don't want to fight with, who is probably doing their best to do what they can for you. Considering the dynamics we have going on, there's always a submissive or a dominant, and a dominant. So, there's stages to the relationship. She becomes basically like your submissive, sexy wife, and then you make the baby. The baby comes out, and then she changes into something completely different because she's a mother now. And mothers aren't that way, and you don't see them that way either. It's a strict distinction that you're wanting, I think, because most moms while growing, created a toxic relationship with you. An emotionally toxic relationship. It doesn't have to be sexual. Emotionally is enough to make this all come out this way. The dominant submissive structure is crumbling. It's falling the fuck apart. And you guys are going to want something to reconstruct with. So it's going to have to be something new, something different, something that none of you really want because you've never experienced it. You've never seen it. There's like no possibility outside of what you've been structured to believe it has to be in the home. But emotional bandwidth, it's basically spirit, right? It's like your mood. It's the ability to love. Emotional bandwidth. So emotion is energy in motion, bandwidth. So energy in motion, right? So it's going to be your emotion, like all this emotionality in your relationships. The bandwidth is chopped off. There's no more. None left for anybody else. No one left for at home. Which means wife, child, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend. Even your nephews, your nieces, like people at the store. This is why you guys have to use your hands and your imagination to control the outside world. You lack self-control, emotional bandwidth. It's through When you have friendships that you cannot say what you think in the moments and say how you feel. When you get around people who you feel comfortable speaking the truth to, all of those repressed feelings will come out on the people you claim to love. So this is the problem. This is the issue in the homes. This is the issue between the sexes, is the emotional bandwidth is spent outside of the close-knit relations, which would be the spousal relations you want to nurture. We are not supposed to be talking and venting to people. We're just not. We're supposed to be enjoying the time we have with them, through experiences. You're supposed to consult yourself. You're supposed to consult God. You're supposed to consult. I don't even recommend. Unless you're actively learning from the experiences, there's no reason to talk to people about them. Or get advice. Everything you need to know is inside. And that's going to be through developing a relationship with yourself. No matter what the outside says, you're going to do what you want to do anyway. It's just going to confuse you along the way. That's all it'll do. This is how you build intuition. This is how you listen. This is how you learn to trust yourself. That way you can trust others in group situations. You can trust their intentions. When you don't trust others' intentions, you will create a situation where you don't trust their intentions. And it'll be a complete lie. It'll be a complete fib. Watching tarot about your relationships is about one of the worst things that you can do. That is where emotional bandwidth is spent. In Delulu, in Fantasyland, in summoned spirits that you don't know where the fuck they came from, man. I don't know. Like, you couldn't catch me tapping into anyone else's energy if you were even paying me. I wouldn't accept payment to do that. I was just learning about, method acting. That's what you guys are basically doing. You're tapping into other people's energy. That's a scary. Manipulating situations drains the emotional bandwidth. The amount of useless processing that it takes keeps you from tapping into other abilities. It causes confusion, which distracts from other abilities that you can have within interactions. Building is very different in relations than deconstructing. If you can only create groups through scapegoating, you are not a leader. The only groups that are forming are being formed over scapegoating. Like, people are so scared to relate and so scared to trust people, and they have no ability to. So they create a situation where a group is formed, but it's through specifically trauma bonding. Like, it has to be. Otherwise, they don't feel secure. You don't feel secure in the bonding unless there's some kind of traumatic thing that happened that keeps us together. That's fine. I'm not here for a group setting. But the ability to be in a group setting is an ability. People are in friend groups purely because they don't like being alone. They don't know how to be alone. So just these groups, more than one, you guys, if you're all stars, right? If you're all like main character, right? If a bunch of main characters are in a group, like what the fuck happens, right? Like what happens? Situations are created to make sure that there is somebody in charge, right? And if she's not going to be the one in charge, I'm going to dedicate and delegate someone to be in charge. Because we need someone to control us. We need a cult. I believe most women don't want to have kids now because of their lack of emotional bandwidth. And I believe that men want children but don't take care of them because of their lack of emotional bandwidth. That's why a specific lifestyle needs to be implanted and ingested and embedded into the system. Because if it doesn't, if it's not set up a specific way, they're all going to go the way that seems easiest in the moment, which is not processing their emotions and not expressing them to the right people at the right time. Or sweeping things under the rug, things like that. When you're busy all day trying to figure out how to take your best friend down, you're not going to have the emotional bandwidth to take care of a child. If you're spending your whole day trying to figure out how to make yourself feel included in a group by scapegoating someone, that's your emotional bandwidth out the window. And not for your child if you were to have one. I didn't do any of this. Like, I didn't, like, purposely cause drama growing up. It was always me who was chosen to, like, be picked on. Luckily, because those people ended up with terrible lives and they absolutely are miserable. The mind has to be clean and clear to create healthy relations. Otherwise, it will just be a rerun of what situations it's been in. A trauma brain. Just recreating everything. Like a movie scene. All of you people out here operating like you're trying to be a director, directing everything. Through your word manipulation. Unless these areas get cleaned up, then the war will continue between men and women that we see. And it'll continue to get worse. And everyone will be swapping energies, meaning masculine women and feminine men, but all very emotional with no emotional bandwidth.